All right, hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I just wanted to post this video to briefly go over the homework that will be due for Wednesday, as well as predominantly I'd like to go over the A3 assignment sheet. So your next major writing assignment is going to be kind of the focus of this video. So first off, before we do anything else, I would like you to watch this video on genre. I did not record this. This was recorded by another instructor, but this video goes over kind of genre in general. And the reason that I want you to watch this video about genre is because for our A3, our third major writing assignment, we're going to be working within the genre of a proposal, a stakeholder proposal to be more specific. I'm going to go ahead and go over that now, but before I do, again, if you haven't watched this video, go ahead and pause the video you're currently watching, this video, pause this and go ahead and watch this first. Okay, once you've done that, let's head back over to the A3 assignment sheet. So for A3, you're going to be working within the genre of a proposal, which means that so in your A2, you were working within the genre of a persuasive argument, right? You wrote an argumentative essay that had you research an issue, and then you took a stance on that issue, and your goal was to persuade your stakeholder to accept your claim, right? That's what we did for A2. For A3, we're going to be working with the same topic that you wrote about for A2, but instead of persuading your stakeholder to accept your claim, you're going to be doing something a little bit different with this issue. And you're going to write a proposal essentially to identify an issue and propose a solution. So if we quickly, I'll talk about due dates in a second, but let's quickly go to purpose and focus. So your stakeholder proposal, as I said, I want you to identify a problem, and I want you to use your research from A2. So probably when you took a stance on a specific issue, when you wrote your argumentative research, when you wrote your researched argument for A2, you probably took a stance on a particular issue that likely identified a problem. And so for your A3, I would like you to not only identify the problem and explain why the audience should care, why this is relevant, basically, again, developing for your audience, persuading your audience. Not only would I like you to identify that problem, I want you to propose a solution to solve this problem. And some of you have already started this work in your A2s, so this might be easier for some than for others. But essentially, you're going to identify an issue and then create a plan that solves this issue. So that's kind of the overview of what A3 is. But just to go over the basics, this is worth 20% of your grade. This proposal is going to be 900 to 1200 words. And excuse me. The due dates that we're looking at are, this timeline is going to be much shorter than what it was for A2 because not all of your research, but a lot of your research for this assignment will be research that you've already done for A2. So we won't need as much time to kind of like really focus on heavy research. We're going to focus more on how to write a proposal. So we have about 3 weeks with this A3 assignment. So by Sunday, April 19th, end of the day on Sunday, I would like you to have your rough draft, and as usual, your draft is going to be 80% of the word count. And I would like you to upload that draft to Canvas, just like what we did for A2. You're going to do that again on Sunday, April 19th. On Wednesday, the following Wednesday, I would like you to have completed your online peer review feedback. So that'll give you about 2 or 3 days to do that. So then by Wednesday, you should have your peers' feedback and you can use that. I'll also on Wednesday post a style and mechanics seminar video. Yeah, so I'll just record a video that goes over the PowerPoint that I would have shared with you in class, but you'll watch a video instead. And then on Friday, April 24th, that is the due date for this assignment. So end of the day, Friday, April 24th, that is when your A3 is due. So that's kind of the basics. Another quick overview for A3 is if we're thinking about the rhetorical situation, right? So the purpose, as I mentioned before, your purpose is to identify an issue in your A2 and propose a solution. The author, of course, of A2 is going to be you, or excuse me, the author of A3 is going to be you. The audience for A3 is going to be a little bit different than what your audience was for A2. So for A2, I let you pick stakeholders. I let you pick your own stakeholder, and you're going to pick your own stakeholder again for A3. For A2, your stakeholder was pretty broad, or it could be, right? Some of you picked, for example, like parents that shop at King Soopers. Some of you picked that like group as your stakeholder. For a proposal, we're going to narrow down both our problem and our stakeholder even more than what we did in A2. So in A3, I want you to write this proposal to a specific individual stakeholder. So instead of writing this to a group, I would like you to address this proposal to a specific person. I want you to imagine there's a specific person reading your proposal. And the best way that I can describe how narrow and specific I want your A3 to be is I want you to imagine that you are going to write out this proposal, you're going to print it out, and you're going to put it in an envelope and write an address on it and send it to whoever it's addressed to. So that's how specific I want you to be. So that means, right, if your stakeholder for A2 was grocery shoppers in low-income communities, for example, right? You can't really write a proposal to that group because, like, what would you address? Who would you address that letter to, right? You can't say, like, I'm going to, like, send this proposal to, like, members of this low-income community. That, like, wouldn't make sense. Like, you can't really get everyone in that community to read your proposal. But what you could do, right, is like if you're going to choose maybe the CEO of King Soopers as your stakeholder, you can look up like who is the CEO of King Soopers. You could find, theoretically, you could find this person's contact information. You would know exactly who this specific individual is, and you would write your proposal to that specific CEO. So that's kind of how specific I would like you to get in terms of your stakeholder. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. But that's the main aspect of that. So now let's get into kind of each of the levels of the hierarchy of rhetorical concerns. So I've already gone over what the purpose of A3 is. So you're going to focus, again, you're carrying over all of your ideas from A2. So you're going to focus your ideas by narrowing your A2 to be a more specific problem. And the easiest way to make your issue more specific is to localize it. And the reason that I want you to get even more specific than maybe what you have from your A2 is in your A3, in your proposal, right, you're proposing a solution. You're trying to solve this problem. So when you're choosing something really big, like, let's say, like implementing more uses for nuclear power, trying to like get everyone in the world or everyone in the US to do that is a pretty big ask. It's one thing to maybe try to persuade a group of people to switch to nuclear energy, like in a researched argument. But in a proposal, we're trying to show a plan to solve an issue, right? So it's often useful to localize that issue. So maybe saying like convincing a specific district, like let's say like maybe I'm going to convince Larimer County within Colorado, so right, a specific area. I'm going to convince like this district to, or maybe this school, like maybe I'm going to convince CSU to switch to nuclear power. Maybe that's not a great example, but the more specific you can get, the easier it will be for you to create a plan for how you're going to solve this problem. So the goal with keeping your issue specific and perhaps local is I want you to have as easy a time as possible trying to persuade a specific stakeholder to like implement whatever plan you're creating, right? So that also means that you're going to refine some of your research from your A2. So a lot of your research, as I said before, for your A2 can carry over. But I think there's still room to do further research, right? So maybe you've researched like the larger issue at hand. And now you're going to narrow your research and refine your research so that you can find a specific problem that you can propose a specific solution to. As I said, if you have any questions about that, let me know. But some examples of some things you might do to kind of refine your research a little bit more is looking at specific constraints. So like what would keep the CEO of King Soopers from joining a food waste program? What kind of, like, how much money might these people lose? What kind of budget is needed, etc. So those are some things you can consider as you're refining your research. Now moving on to development for audience, again, I think the best way to look at this when you're choosing who your audience will be is I want you to imagine that you're going to literally send your proposal off in like a letter or an email to a specific person. And that person can be a representative for a larger group, but it has to be someone who could literally like open up your proposal and read it. So again, like picking like a group of people within a community, like that isn't a single person that can open up your letter and read it. So you want to get really specific. So some examples might be like, right, franchise owner Steven Stein of Chick-fil-A on College Ave, right? That's really specific. Or like Brittany Sly, the Nutrition and Wellness Programs Coordinator at CSU. Getting as specific and local as possible is going to make your argument much more effective because you're not biting off more than you can chew. So you want to, again, audience appeal, just like with A2. It's going to be really important for A3. So you're going to want to use audience appeals to kind of persuade your audience to, instead of accept your claim, you're persuading your audience to implement your plan. So you'll do that by considering your stakeholders like stakes again. So you'll be doing some of the similar audience analysis of like, who is this person's background? What is this person's background? What would they already know about this? What kinds of like perspectives or experience might this person have around this specific problem rather than like an overarching issue, right? And then you're going to also include a counter argument to address any weak points in your argument. And you're going to have, I would also like you to include a visual component in your A3. So a visual component would maybe look like you could have a graph or a chart, perhaps an image. I'll talk a little bit more next week about what I would like you to have for this visual element. And I'm going to end this video here because these screen recordings are timed. So part 2 of this video will go over genre conventions and just the last little bit of A3.